overtime on a Monday. Steinmetz, Giddings, Willard and Dibs. Gentlemen, how was your weekend?
Ooh,
pretty fun, yeah.
It was great.
That good, huh?
It was great.
Oh,
yeah. Active.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw you were hit. Now, were you at Northwoods?
I was.
I could tell by the photo on
Singular.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Northwood.
singular. There's only one of them.
Yeah.
It's just Northwood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was great. It was just me and the 10-year-old too. We just
A nice swing. He does.
The languid lefty.
Yeah, he doesn't know the prospect that he is, which is good. What's your 10-year-old's name?
Jude. Tell Jude the next time he needs to take a video of Daddy's swing.
He did. We didn't post that.
Come on.
Actually, no, I think he didn't take a video of it. That's you know what I mean? Like that's got a bad vibe to it.
I would never do it.
We had playing partners. What am I going to do? Hey, guys, don't get in the shot. My 10-year-old's going to take video of me swinging a golf club on a Saturday morning round. Like, whatever.
You just had a couple of randos you played with?
A couple of randos.
Okay, good.
Good dudes.
Yeah, it's fun.
They were fun.
And they were patient with the little guy?
We were not even 2 strokes into the round before they walked right over to me and said, Dad, we're going to take all the time you need.
Good.
We are not in a hurry
That's
out
awesome.
here at Northwood on a Saturday. So, yeah, they were great. And, my little guy tucked his golf shirt into his hoop shorts, and we went and played golf.
Nice.
Yeah, it was incredible.
A real pro.
I had, and I have to say this because Dibs is here, otherwise he'll hear it and then think I talk behind his back. I had what I'm deeming a sigh of relief round yesterday.
Now, wait a minute. The last time I saw you, you were walking 1.5 feet above ground.
Right.
You were nice to everybody. You acted like you cared about things. It was a different Steiny.
Yep.
And I knew, you didn't say it, but I looked at Dibs. I go, he's on a heater. He's playing well right now. So why did you need, what did you call it? A sigh of relief round?
A sigh of relief round.
Why?
And it's when this happens. You look at the text thread, you see you're playing 2 foursomes with 8 guys. Mm-hmm. You see Dibley, and then you see it's Mike Dibley, not Dan Dibley.
Got it. Okay. All right. That is a sign.
I took a while for that, but
Yeah, and no, you brought it home. And turns out my brother, Mikey 2.0, lot more fun to hang out with than me. Danny 1.0, which
You're
is
like
fine.
Dan-
I'm okay with that.
What's Danny 2.0, though? I bet he's going to be a hoot.
Oh, no. There will be no 2.0.
Okay.
This is me. This is all you get.
All right.
well, we have this in common
Fine
because
with it.
I have a friend that I introduce to other people, and they become better friends with him than they do
That
with
happens.
me. Dana.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's basically who.
Me and Dana?
I mean,
Yeah.
do any
Everybody in Dana.
I was
is the
going to say
thing, yeah.
everybody.
do any of you like me as much as you like the lovely Christy?
It depends if I had to talk to her for 20 hours a week.
Well,
that's the only
fair.
real.
That's
For me,
that's
it's a
fair
little bit of a
answer.
different barrier.
My
because
reason for bringing it up is what you just said, I deal with in all aspects. I think my parents like Christy better than they like
Yeah,
me.
jeez.
So, like, it's just kind of, that's life.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know Christy that well, so I'd probably, but I
She's
I
got
definitely like you more than most people in here like you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's good.
That's only because he's afraid of you.
Because you're
Yeah,
scared
that's
of me.
totally.
It worked. It worked.
No, I don't know Christy at all, so I don't know how I would.
She's gotten you more free food than I have.
That's true,
And
she
you've only
brought in
been
those
around her,
cookies
like,
on the day
twice.
we really needed them.
Yeah, and you still
She
said
has.
no.
She brought me a pizza.
Way to your heart.
What have you brought me?
Exactly.
Cookies.
Oh, you brought donuts.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know what? It's
And breakfast
it's like Bob
burritos, were you there
Myers.
for that?
I don't have to make a decision, so I'm not going to make
That's
a
fine.
decision
Let's
right
just
now.
enjoy
Strong.
this year.
Yep.
Okay.
No,
Sounds
apparently there's
good.
a lot of decisions.
Yeah,
that
Well, they
we're
had to
gonna
make a
have right
decision
now.
on Kevon Looney, and they chose to keep him for now, which was, probably the right move. So you guarantee Kevon, and now Kevon becomes either a big piece for the next year or he's on the move in the next 6 days.
Yeah. I mean, my first thought was that tells me they're not, oh my God, we gotta get off this $8 million to save $5 million to save $25 million because of the tax. They said, let's bring him back at 8, not necessarily to move, but it's just a little more flexibility in case they have to make a move.
Well, I think that, first of all, the amount of money you would save by letting Kevon go is not much.
Right.
Second of all, we know what kind of locker room guy he is. You have no problem having him on this team. But third of all, an $8 million salary is potentially a very valuable thing. So I could see Kevon getting kept and then sent out. He very much could be a part of a trade.
Well, and the thing that's interesting here, if you really look at the Warriors and some of their salaries, they have Looney now at 8. They have Peyton at 9. Kuminga, yes, he's on his rookie deal, but it's about 8 Kuminga makes. Moody's making almost 6.
Mm-hmm.
You start looking at those numbers, and you can use all of them, none of them. One deal may need you to boost the salaries to make it match 10 million, one may be 20, but you can do any of those combinations when you have like 4 guys making between, let's say, 7 and 10.
And when you're under the second apron.
Exactly.
Which is where Klay Thompson does or doesn't fit in.
Right. Or when you're trying to get under that.
Yeah, you can only combine deals when you're under that second apron. Right now, everybody under the like right now they have about like 15 million between everyone, assuming Chris Paul is used, is 30 million, and the second apron. That might be the amount of money they're like, Klay, this is all we can pay you. Because we're trying to figure out how we can move, I don't know, Chris or Kevon or GP or whoever, Kuminga, and bring somebody else big back. And that might just be the end of the line because it seems like they're trying to improve the roster, but second apron is where they can't go past.
I don't even think it's that connected with Klay. I believe everything that Anthony Slater said. I think the conversations are not even happening. I don't even think they're happening. It doesn't mean that they won't circle back and happen at some point. There are scenarios that bring it to that, but that means that what everybody was trying to do, what the Warriors were trying to do, what Klay Thompson was trying to do, didn't end up materializing on the market, and you come back together 2 weeks from now. I find that to be highly, highly unlikely. I think Klay Thompson has played his last game with the Warriors. The Warriors have got to they've got to find a way to improve. That salary structure for Klay does not fit into their plans. I thought your guys' conversation with Gelsiler was absolutely fantastic, and I thought the lead story came early in the conversation when he said 2 words that we all spent 2 weeks on a month and a half ago, which is, I don't believe you, Phoenix Suns. You're not keeping Kevin Durant. You can't keep all your stars. You're a hot mess. You need to reboot. If there's somebody willing to offer salary structure to make it work, plus a pick or 2 and a young player or whatever, Kevin Durant is totally on the market. For me, if I'm the Warriors, that is target number 1. Period. I don't get Butler, George, whatever, anything else you want to throw at me. What fits to me with regard to the Steph Curry timeline and the fact that continuity is what works in the NBA, I love the idea of bringing back somebody who's already played with these guys before. That's target A, if you ask me.
And the more I look at these contracts, the more maybe something's coming into focus, and it's this. Any big boy, whether it's a sign trade, it's going to be a 50 million-ish, a 50 million-ish player. So salaries have to add up. Okay, so how do you get to 50 on the Warriors?
Chris Paul, there's 30.
Well, that's one way.
Let's start there.
But you could go Wiggins, Draymond. Well, that's 50, but nobody's going to want both those guys. Or you're probably not going to want to give up Draymond.
You don't want to give them up, yeah, or not Draymond.
But the only team that's going to want Chris Paul, I think, is somebody who looks at the $30 million as relief rather than there's the piece to put us over. But now it's starting to make sense about why the Warriors want to push that deadline into July with Chris Paul, because you're right. Chris Paul and Wiggins, that will match up with a Paul George. That will match up with a Kevin Durant. That'll match up with probably Zach LaVine if you'd ever want that. But that's starting to make a little more sense. And if somebody says, no, we don't want one of those guys, you still have 3 or 4 guys that you can add up to 25 million.
How about a Looney and Moody and a pick or 2? Like Chris Paul to me, Chris Paul is something that the Suns should want. Multiple reasons. There's somebody, first of all, they have no point guard.
Right.
They have no point guard. Now, it also becomes immediately an expiring deal for a team that totally needs to reboot. Plus, he was just there. He's played alongside Booker, and you can attach pieces to it that would help them in their rebuild. I think that whole thing makes all the sense. I know that people for a while said there's no way you're getting Durant without giving up Kuminga. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm aiming too high here. I think the Warriors can get Kevin Durant, or at least in a conversation, without giving up Jonathan Kuminga.
They might. Like, the one thing I'm just thinking off, kind of off the top of my head, and I don't know. So the Warriors have to make a decision on Chris Paul on June 28th. But if they push that into July, that means the Warriors could trade Chris Paul on July 2nd, and the team that gets him can say, yeah, we're not guaranteeing his contract. If they would just, and that's something the Suns may.
Immediate salary relief.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So.
By the way, who's that up to? Is that up to Chris?
It's up to the team.
Well, no, the team wants to move the deadline.
Oh, I think
the Warriors want to move the deadline. Does
I think
Chris
they
need to
agree.
that?
They'd have to agree.
Yeah, right?
They'd have to agree.
Okay.
And Chris Paul would do it.
Yeah, how
there is a reason.
Why
well,
would
the reason would
it?
be his contract gets guaranteed. And so even if he goes to another team and then they waive him, he still gets paid.
He
if
does.
the contract gets guaranteed.
But
And
then
that would
he's-
allow him to then go to L.A. as a free agent, which is what he wants anyway.
But he would
doesn't
still
get the
count
30.
against the Suns' cap.
Does he get the 30?
Yes. If
they
he's
guarantee
guaranteed,
a deal, yeah.
No,
he gets the 30.
but the whole point of pushing the deadline is not guaranteeing it.
Well,
Like, once
it
you
would be to
guarantee
give
it-
yourself more flexibility.
But if you guarantee it, I'm talking about from Chris's perspective. I'm
Okay.
just asking questions
Gotcha.
here. If you push the deadline, that would mean that, as you just said, you could trade him, and then whoever acquires him says, no, we're letting you go right now. That means he doesn't get the 30. That means he gets the 5, but he's free to go somewhere else, correct?
Yes.
That's the way I understand
Like,
it.
he would have to be getting a carrot in this situation,
Something.
I would
Correct.
think.
Correct.
Yes, I would
And I think
too.
the carrot for him would be the ability to go and be a free agent wherever he wanted to be, and also have that $5 million in the guaranteed portion of his contract. That's the part that makes it hard for me to think about him going to Phoenix, because the word is he wants to go to LA, either the Clippers or the Lakers. So why would he agree to go to Phoenix? I mean, all he'd have to do is say, I'm not going to Phoenix. So if you acquire me, you're basically acquiring an empty salary slot. And is that what Phoenix wants?
Probably.
Yeah, but
I think that's pretty attractive to Phoenix.
But they also, I mean, I don't know if Chris Paul's that in love with playing for a team that moved off of him, that he didn't find out they moved off of him until he found out from his kid.
No, but remember, you're moving the deadline past July 1st, so this doesn't mean you would play for Phoenix. This just means that your carcass would be involved in a deal.
No, yes, but
And then you're let go.
one of the reasons why Chris would agree is because the Warriors, there might be a wink thing that we're going to put you somewhere that you can actually play, that you would want to go and play. And I don't know why he would want to go back to Phoenix.
Like
Basketball wise, he makes sense. The salary fits, but he just played there a year ago, and then they shipped him off for nothing.
I think what and again, I'm just trying to understand here, and I think Dibs, you're probably onto something. I think what the Warriors are looking at Chris and say, look, no one's paying you 30. No one's doing that. So if you don't move this thing back, then we can let you go now. But it would help the Warriors out if you moved it back a little bit. And we send you definitely to a place that is going to let you go so that you can go play wherever you want. That would be, I guess, like that. I don't know. Is that the carrot? Because if not, you're
Well,
like,
the carrot would be the $5 million that he would get.
well, he's getting that either way. He gets that no matter what.
I mean,
But if
To
they,
me-
if they, but the other part of the contract is if they trade him to a place in which they only pay him, like, I don't know, let's say they trade him for Markkanen. Markkanen's making 18. So the Jazz would pay him 18. The Warriors would pay the other 12. He still gets 30. So
That's only if the deal's guaranteed.
you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. The reason the date's June 28th is because June 28th, Chris Paul's either going to be a free agent or he's going to be a Warrior that must be paid $30 million next year by some team. So the minute if the Warriors were to say, we're guaranteeing your contract for next year, it means that any team that trades for Chris Paul can't just waive him for salary relief only. They're going to have to say, we're still going to have to pay Chris for 1 year.
So that's why you move the deadline, but what's in it for Chris?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know what's in it for Chris.
Location.
See, exactly. The freedom to go where he wants to go.
No, but again, that location is just, it's no different than what Washington was for Chris Paul. We sent you to Washington. You're not staying in Washington. Like, you're just sending him somewhere that's just going to cut him and let him go. And
I think that's it's a do right by you compromise, right?
I guess. I mean, because I don't know what Chris would ask for there.
I mean, first and foremost, if I'm Chris Paul, I'm saying I want the Warriors to guarantee my contract on June 28th because I don't know that I can make 30 anymore. So then the Warriors say, well, what do you say we push that back? My first thing would be no. No. I mean, I want to know if I'm making 30 or I'm a free agent. Well, we're going to try to do some stuff. You're going to get your 30. Well, then I'd say, okay, and you're going to have the first right to say yes or no to a move because we'll try to get deals out there wherever you want to go.
The other reason the Warriors would be incentivized to guarantee the money is to keep the salary slot, is to keep the flexibility of bringing in $30 million because if he walks, you can't just replace that because you have his bird rights.
Right.
So
it's the other team that can get the relief.
I would just, again, this is not I'm not coming from some sort of an expert place here. I feel like I'd be shocked if he gets the 30. Who's paying him $30 million this year? It's why the Warriors are asking to push the deadline.
Well, you're
asking to push the deadline so that you can potentially still move him and then have him get released for $5 million by the acquiring team.
One way.
That's my understanding.
Right, but they could do the same thing that the Warriors essentially did with Jordan Poole, and that is Chris Paul was making 30 and 30, and Jordan Poole was making 30, 30, 30, and 30, essentially, 120. So by trading Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, they essentially saved at least $60 million in real money.
Correct.
Maybe 90 if they get him off. So there might be a team that will trade a guy with 4 more years left on his deal to the Warriors, and part of Chris Paul comes back so they get off that long-term money.
Maybe.
In other words,
it's an expiring deal.
We'll sit with Chris Paul for a year.
And I think Zach LaVine is one of those guys who, and I think Trae Young's another one of those guys. Not that he's going to be in play, but there are players out there who are making way more than they're worth for a long period of time.
Yeah. And I also think there's a team out there that may want one of those guys and can live with, if you trade for Trae Young, I don't know if this is last year or not, maybe it is. You trade for Trae Young and you say, well, you know what? If it works out, it works out. If not, let him walk and we'll have money to be a free agent to try to get somebody we like better than Trae Young.
Just going back to, Durant's got 2 years left on his deal.
That's actually perfect
literally
for the Warriors.
Exactly what they want.
So does Butler.
But Butler, that's not as good of a player. It's not as good of a player.
And we don't know that the match is going to be as good as it will be with Kevin Durant because we've seen it,
that
match was
sometimes that match
gasoline.
Was lit.
2 titles, right? It should have been a third or would have been a third if it wasn't for 2 devastating injuries.
True. Yeah, 4 years ago.
It certainly wasn't all bad.
Right.
In fact, I would argue it was about 98.6% good. There was some rough stuff with Draymond, but who the hell hasn't experienced that?
I wonder how Kevin Durant would feel about coming back. I was going to say, Kevin's going to be
ecstatic.
Who knows what Kevin's thinking? I don't think we know. Do we know that?
That's why I said I wonder what Kevin Durant
and it feels like
would think about
it's
coming
something
back.
different every year with that guy, right? I want this. No, I want that. I don't know. It's been a number of years. I would believe that Kevin Durant is probably a little bit of a different person than he was when he left.
Well, and also, with all due respect to Durant, if I'm Phoenix, I can send him anywhere I want.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, even if Durant gets sent to Detroit, he'll want it, but he's still showing up. He wants to play basketball.
He wants $51.7 million.
Exactly. So, the Suns could, hose Kevin Durant if they want to and send him wherever they want. And if he's feeling bad about it, too bad, because he's not a mainstay there anyway. Or
isn't he a reason why they fired their head coach though?
Probably.
So you fire the head coach for a guy that's not happy with him, and then you trade him?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what the Pistons did with Monty Williams, only he was a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thinking is Phoenix has to do something.
Right.
Because are you just going to run it back with Booker, Beal, and Durant and pay that much for a team that is clearly broken and 3 stars that don't fit, and you fired your head coach? And it feels like there has to be more of a change there to financially make it right and also make the basketball product better.
Yeah, I mean...
and you can't trade Beal. He's got no trade clause.
Well, and that's why the trade was idiotic in the first place, is like, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, you hoped you were going to compete, but as far as...
you had a big 3.
Well, yeah, you did, but also you knew that you weren't going to be able to add anything outside of Drew Eubanks and, Yuta Watanabe. Like, that was going to be your team. So the fact that they want to pivot so quickly is a little surprising to me, but who knows? I mean, I think the other team that I saw Geltziler tweeting about earlier was Houston with Durant. But yeah, he seems to be back on the table. So, if the Warriors deem... I don't know how they get someone big, though, without moving Kuminga. Like...
Why?
Because he's the only guy anybody would want.
But again, we're like... What we're talking about with other teams in terms of what they quote-unquote want, that's different city by city and team by team. Some teams are trying to win. Some teams are trying to reboot their salary. Some teams are trying to just gather young assets.
But what win-now pieces are on the Warriors?
Well, but again, I don't think Phoenix is a win-now team. I think Phoenix is a whoops, we got to start over team.
Well, but you still have Beal under contract for however many years. Yeah. You still have Booker who wants to win now.
But that's
4 more years.
You have to deal with that. But like I've thought this from the beginning when Phoenix's season ended the way it did. Like, if you look at what they did, they are up a complete creek. And the fact that they were so far away, did they win 0 playoff games?
Yeah.
Did they get swept?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. The fact that they were so not
Same
close,
as the Warriors.
Yeah, and the Warriors also need to make changes.
Right.
But the Suns are in a spot with those 3 contracts where it was like, you're completely in jail. You just come back and do the exact same thing for 2 more years, or you start your reboot. And with Beal being untradeable and Booker is your homegrown guy, I've thought from the jump, it makes all the sense in the world for them to move Kevin Durant. And it's not for a win now piece. It's for a let's start over. Let's get some picks. Let's get, a Moses Moody type in here. Let's get salary relief. So if we can get a young piece or 2 and a pick or 2 and salary relief, it's exactly what the Suns need.
I think that there's going to be enough competition, though, for Kevin Durant that the price goes up and that Kuminga thus has to be a part of the deal, because Phoenix is going to have multiple suitors for Kevin Durant if he's really out there on the market. I don't think you're going to be able to get away with a couple of picks in Moses Moody.
Yeah, but Kuminga needs to be paid.
I wonder...
You don't get salary relief.
But he's not getting Tyrese Maxey money.
No, but he's getting money. Like, if you're trying to reboot your salary, you don't bring in someone who needs a 9-figure extension in 2 seconds.
You do if he's 22 and you believe in him as a guy who's a future piece.
And if they are going scorched earth and rebuilding, I mean, they might want what they gave up for Kevin Durant, which was 4 first-round picks, and that's the whole hell of a lot for a Warriors team that doesn't have a future if you acquire Kevin Durant beyond a couple of years.
Yeah, I wonder if, and you only get 1 year of getting off money, but I wonder if, we want to move Durant. Okay, well, he's got 2 years left. Would Phoenix give us Chris Paul, Payton, and Looney, and then Moody? Well, why would they do that? Well, because all those guys are free agents at the end of the year.
Exactly.
And in one fell swoop, now they're only paying 2 guys instead of 3. So it would ideally work better with a guy with a longer term contract than 2, but they could make more hay flexibility-wise with that kind of deal than, well, we got to have players we like and are willing to live with for a while.
Yeah, I think that's plausible, number one. And number 2, I also wonder, I don't disagree with you guys who wouldn't want Kevin Durant, but who can have Kevin Durant? How many teams out there are like, that's the missing piece for $51 million and we can fit that in a trade? I get that everyone wants him, but how many teams could pull it off? I think it's a pretty small number, I would bet.
Yeah, and I also believe that if Phoenix is going to make a deal where it's primarily early cap relief or a year early, then you are going to have to throw in some picks. And
yeah, no doubt. Do the Warriors feel like they'd be willing to do that? Kind of feel like they would be to me.
Yeah, they might be.
Picks.
Pretty obsessed with the next 2 years, it feels like, to me.
Yeah, it seems like that to me. All right, hey, for all intent and purpose, free agency started. And you know where it started? On 95.7, The Game.